Shadows Amsterdam. This is a game of indirect coded communication. It might remind you of Codenames or Dixit or other games like that in which you had to figure out creative ways of communicating a message. It is in fact a team-based game in which in each team there will be a player that will try to communicate something to the other players. And here what happens is that what is being communicated is where the game piece representing the team should move next. The art is very nice. It is set in a version of Amsterdam that seems more like Zootopia than Amsterdam because of all the anthropomorphic animals. There are a couple of references to Amsterdam that may surprise you in a game that, well, it looks like it is made for kids, at least from the art. There's a card that, if I understand things correctly, represent the red light district. If you play with your kids, probably they wouldn't notice, but my wife noticed it and pointed it out. And so I thought maybe I'll mention it. It's a game that looks for families. Mechanically speaking, it will work for families, but it may have a couple of hints of elements here and there that, well, I don't know, you may want to check. In any case, before going further, let's see how the game works. The game is played on this peculiarly shaped board, which is made of double-sided tiles with different illustrations. So you just mix and match, and there's also one extra tile that you will not use in a game, so that there is variety there. You organize these elements around the central cardboard element here, then you draw 4 tiles from this deck here that has a lot more illustrations, and you use them to complete the setup, to complete the map of the city for that game. So as you can see, there will be a lot of variety, a lot of different subjects that will be portrayed. Those 3 areas don't get a tile, they're obstacles, simply players cannot move there. Then each team will place a token representing their detective, and they will place it in the central space. The game is played in teams, so usually you will need at least 4 players, 2 players per team. It is also possible to play cooperative with fewer than 4 players. But in the standard game, again, you have 2 teams, each team has 1 intelligence officer, and then everybody else controls the detectives. The detectives are all in the location represented by the token. The intelligence officer will try to communicate to the detectives where to go. But I guess the communication is not working really well. There is no reception because, well, communicating is really complicated. Each intelligence officer has a screen such as this one, between which the intelligence officer will hide a map. There is a stack of different maps. For each map you have 2 copies because there is one for each team. So for example, we have the 2, the 7 here, the 9, the 11, but also we have the 8 and the 10, they're double-sided. Also, each map tells us where to find clues. The clues that only have 1 color, they're clues that are exclusive for that team, so these are clues only for the orange team. The ones that have both colors can act as clues for either team, and again, the ones that have solid color, but the other team, like solid black, they're only clues for the black team. These green spaces represent the clients to whom we're trying to deliver the clues, and these X's here represent the police. We don't want to end the movement on those X's there. I thought we were detectives and we're supposed to be friends with the police, to work with them. I don't know, but it appears that this is not the case because they are our enemies. At the beginning of the game, the 2 intelligence officers will randomly select a map, say this one, and an orientation. As you can see, there are 3 symbols, circle, square, and I don't know, half star, I guess. And suppose we have selected to play with circle 7. So both players, both intelligence officers place that behind their screen, and it's really important that they make sure that they have the same orientation so that the thing that are common to both maps match. In particular, these clues that, well, the first player, the first team to gets the clue, and the other team doesn't. Then we have, remember these tiles with all of these subjects that I showed you earlier? Then there will be 10 that will be available face up. I'll only show you some of them. There will be 10 available face up for the 2 intelligence officers to choose from and to use to communicate with their team. So the idea of the game is pretty simple. That is, there are no specific turns. There are not a I go, you go. Players go whenever they feel like. But the general idea, the general flow is that the intelligence officer will pick up 1 or 2 clues and will give them to the detectives. Remember, the intelligence officers knows where things are, and the intelligence officer is trying to lead the detectives first to 3 clues and then to the client. The first team to do so will win a round. Also, every time that your detectives end movement in a police space, you get a penalty token, and if you get 3 of them, you lose the round. So you may win a round because you win the round or because the other team loses it. The first team to win 2 rounds wins the game. Now, other things. We said we need to guide our detectives to land on the clues and not to land on the police. So the intelligence officer chooses 1 or 2 clue styles and gives them to their teams. Let's start with 1, which is easier. Then that player, the player of the other team, the detectives, will look at the clue, because basically the clue is selected to indicate where to go next. So if you, as the intelligence officer, giving a clue to your teammates, well, the clue should have some connection with the space where you will want them to go. And sometimes maybe it's the color, maybe it's the theme, maybe it's the general composition of the image. In this case, for example, our players start from here. Ideally, I want them to go here. Here would sort of be okay, but I really don't want them to go there. And here, what do we have? The place where I want them to go is this fisherman or fisher bear. What can we do there? And then I'm looking at the clues here, and I really can't think of any that would work that way. Oh, that's bad. So, but suppose that I do find one that I find somewhat satisfying. Suppose that this tile is among the clues. Water, fish, fishing. So I give this to my teammates, and hopefully they move there. If the team moves on a space that contains a clue, and if it is a double clue for 2 players, a clue that has not been taken by the opponent, then I place a token there to indicate that. If the detectives move in a space with the police, as we said, we place a token there. Basically, the intelligence officer never talks. Simply, if the detectives land on a space that is blank, the detective doesn't say anything. Otherwise, the detective places the clue token or the police token. Once the team moves, the tile that was used is discarded. Each tiles that were used from here are replenished from this deck, so there are always 10 available. It is also possible for the 2 intelligence officers to agree to discard all of the 10 available clues and to draw 10 new ones. Pretty much, this is how it works. A couple of other things. The important thing, as I said, it is possible to give 2 clues to one's friends. And that can be very useful if the detectives are stuck in an area surrounded by police. For example, suppose that the detectives are here and they got a clue. Good for them, but now there are a lot of chances that they will make a mistake. And so maybe I'm gonna give them 2 clues. It's possible to give them 2 clues. When you give 2 clues, you cannot pick one up and then another one, because that would imply the order in which the clues should be used. You need to take the clues at the same time and give them at the same time. And so basically now the team will need to move by 2 spaces, and really 2 spaces away from the initial tile. So you cannot do this and this. When you're moving based on 2 clues, you have to move not adjacent to where you started. And so now the players had to figure out the order in which these must be interpreted, of course, what the heck they mean. Again, the good news is that if you move to a police space when you're doing a move based on 2 clues, but you do not end movement there, that doesn't count. You don't get a penalty. And so this is how it works. The intelligence officer tries to figure out analogies and connections between the available clues and the spaces where she wants the detectives to go. The detectives are trying to read the intelligence officer's mind, and you continue like this until, again, you find 3 clues and deliver them to the client. So you're the first detective to reach a client space. With 3 clues, you win the round, or you fail 3 times. You get caught by the police 3 times, and you lose the round. So the game can be played competitively in the way that I explained, or it can be played cooperative. The way it works is simply that you and your team select an amount of time, a maximum amount of time, 15 if you're really recruits, and then less than that if you want a bigger challenge, and you're simply trying to complete the mission, collect 3 clues, and reach a client before the time runs out and without getting caught by the police 3 times. You do that, you win a round, you win 2 rounds, you win the game, you lose 2 rounds, you lose the game. You and your team, of course. So it's really the same idea. Without the pressure of fighting against another team, without the pressure of going for certain clues because you're afraid that the opponent is going to take them. But other than that, it's very, very similar. And we like it. We like the game very much. I played it during game nights with my friends, and we played the competitive version. And then later, it just so happened I played 2-player with my wife only, cooperative style, and we like that too. So I personally like it in both formats, and all of the people I played it with enjoyed it very much too. Because again, on one hand, there was something familiar. Another game we played recently, Muse, that also is about selecting an image to send a message. But somehow it really works because, well, it's just a nice, interesting puzzle when you're trying to select the correct image, and you have a lot to process there. It's not just I'm gonna look for the clue that hints at a specific place. I'm also seeing what the alternatives that my teammates are looking at, and I don't want something that may be confusing. So I'm looking for something that is uniquely tailored to the space. Or in any case, like, well, plan A, I hope they go there. Plan B, they may misunderstand this, but from there I may have this other situation. Again, I'm looking what the other team does, because of those clues, some of those, if you take them, I don't. So I'm gonna try to give priority to those. And of course, it will just so happen that the best clue leads in another direction. And now I'm trying to see, will my friends follow me if I make that analogy, if I use that clue to indicate that other thing? It's just a very interesting puzzle there. And of course, when you're on the other side of the screen, there is the puzzle of what the heck did he or she think. And so it's fun that way. It is also interesting, of course, when the players are going in completely opposite directions from where the intelligence officer imagined they would go or hoped they would go. And so the intelligence officer has to remake the plans. And the detectives have also to use a little bit of memory, because there are certain areas that they know they're safe because we moved there. And then they get stuck in an area, and then they have to choose, should we try to retrace our steps because we know they're safe, but this clue really seems to go in that direction, but we've never been there, and we haven't encountered the police in a while. Are we stepping right into a trap by the police? A lot of interesting elements there, because there is the memory element also for the detectives, and there is just a true exquisite spatial element. It is about moving on a map, and so there are certain things such as hexes on the edges will work slightly differently from hexes that are in the middle, because they are connected to a different number of hexes. So some are quote-unquote harder, some are easier. So there is the special element which is really not immaterial. So we definitely like that. We like the competitive element, and also, again, I like the cooperative version. My wife, who does not like confrontational games, she does prefer cooperative games, really like this game. And she is a casual player. She doesn't play all that often. She doesn't like complicated games. She does not particularly enjoy learning new games. And she really enjoyed this one. So that is to say, this is definitely a game that can be enjoyed by non-hardcore gamers, and on the other hand, during game night, where I have more dedicated regular players, they enjoyed it too. So definitely something for everybody. Now, some of my friends said that we wish there was more art, more tiles, more cards, because after 2 or 3 games we're seeing the same art. That is true, but I personally did not find that to be a problem mechanically. Because it is true, I see the fisherman and I see the guy doing scuba diving, and so if the next game I again have that tile on the board and that clue, I may be tempted to put them together. But it may be that now next game it is my opponent that grabs the clue before I do. It may be that in fact in the next game the fisherman space is associated with the police, so I don't want to pick up the scuba dive guy. Then maybe even that meta thing, if he did not pick up the scuba thing, he really does not want us to go there. But in any case, although I guess it could be more pleasant if we have a ton more of different art situations, images, illustrations, that would drive up the cost quite a bit. It would be more aesthetically pleasing, maybe, but mechanically I don't see any problem. I don't see certain images getting coded in a certain way and therefore then taking away the creative aspect of the communication. I think that's going to be very rare. In general, Shadows Amsterdam, it's a really fun game, very enjoyable, also pretty small, good production value, so at least when it comes to the art. The tiles are a little bit flimsy, a little bit thin, but it's a minor thing. Very nice to look at, and especially, most importantly, very fun to play, and also very flexible because you can play cooperative or competitive, and that is no small advantage. Shadows Amsterdam, give it a try. We enjoyed it very much.